Hi guys, it's just me today, which is weird. Maria's in Italy. Good for her. I'm here. I'm in New York, so like life could be worse. Life could be worse. Very happy for her. Looks like she's having a really good time. She's changed her profile picture like 3 times on Instagram. Kind of waiting to bring up in the group chat, but it's really stressing me out. She got so many cute pictures, so very happy for her. But that means it's just me today, and I kind of tried to choose a topic that was more my speed and something that I would just comment on rather than something that I'd really talk about with Maria. Recently, I've been feeling a lot of creative burnout. And I've just been feeling very uninspired, which is kind of not like me. And I think it took me a while to notice it. If you don't know, before Maria and I started this podcast, I also had my own YouTube channel, which I still post on occasionally. I'm posting on it today, but I used to do that a lot. And then I also just always was like kind of a crafty girl. I loved in high school ceramics. Maria and I have talked about our ceramics class before. It was like life changing. And probably because that's where Maria and I like really became close friends outside of like our friend group. We then became close just between the two of us. So that was like a life changing aspect of it. But it was also just something that was so new to me. I was always like very interested in art and painting and drawing, but I was never super talented at it. And ceramics was definitely more of a skill that I could see myself improving upon. It to me, it was a very inclusive art form because it didn't require some sort of natural talent. I felt like you could really learn how to be good at it. And I kind of did. I have some projects from ceramics that I'm really truly proud of, which I don't say often. And then I have some that went into the garbage as it happens. But I've kind of been looking back recently on myself in high school, myself in college, the way I expressed myself creatively, and how that's kind of dwindled in my life recently. And this realization kind of started when I was looking back at my old Visco. If you guys didn't have a Visco, it was like, it still exists. You can still go look, and some people still post on it. I honestly want to get back into it because I just like had the most fun posting on Visco. But it was similar to Instagram. It was just like posting pictures, but you could post 40 pictures a day and nobody would care. You could post 6 of the same photo in separate posts, nobody would care. It was very aesthetically driven, and it was just about like pictures. And to me, I loved taking photos. I never had like a good camera growing up. It was just all on my phone, but I was looking through and I just took photos of the most like ridiculous things. But I was thinking, wow, I was really inspired by everything around me. I was inspired by the bricks on the buildings that I was taking pictures of. I was inspired by every single meal that I ate. I had pictures of my Kroger sushi and with an extreme saturation filter on it. And I thought, this is art. This is what it's about. And it kind of just made me think, I just don't do that anymore, which like is not necessarily a bad thing. I don't think I need to be taking pictures of every single thing I see, but I was always somebody who loved taking pictures if I'm out on a walk and I see a pretty building, if I'm out on a walk and I don't know, see anything. I was always taking pictures and always taking videos, and I think that's why I was able to make so many YouTube videos is I was just taking these videos without even realizing it. And lately I've kind of been scrolling through my photo album on my phone and I have no pictures, and I'm not taking pictures of things the same way I was. And part of me was like, oh, okay, well, I'm living in the moment. I don't know that that's necessarily true. At least for me, I feel like a lot of the way that I was living in the moment was looking around for beautiful things or aesthetic things or something interesting or exciting that caught my eye. and capturing it. I think that that was my way of being present and living in the moment and appreciating what was in front of me. And I don't feel like I am maybe doing that as much anymore. And it's kind of made me a little bit disappointed in myself. But I also, I think, started to fall into a pattern of living, I wouldn't say a mundane life because I live a very special life, but in my day to day rotation, when I was waking up, working out, going to work, and coming home and eating dinner and going to bed, that was relatively mundane, even though I'm living in this great city and I'm so appreciative of it. It was still a pretty mundane routine. As anybody who lives and works knows, that's how it is when you have a 9 to 5 job, or in my case, a 10 to 7, 10 to 8 job. That was pretty much my schedule, and it could be pretty boring. I do think that a little bit of it was me getting caught up into that, but I also think that I have become more addicted to my phone than ever and more addicted to consuming media than ever. And weirdly, I think that this consumption is more of a result of my desire to create rather than my true addiction to scrolling. I feel like I really started scrolling and looking for something because I was feeling so uninspired to create something new, to create something on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram. And as silly as that sounds, those were things that I always loved, and that somebody who's not necessarily a gifted painter or artist in many forms, that really is a way of creative expression. And I really was looking for something to inspire me to create something again. But I feel as though I definitely know that I was looking for it and not the right place. I think that there's something to be said about looking for inspiration on the internet, and there's definitely the ability to. But what you're going to find is pretty much things that have already been done, and you can be inspired by other people's works, but it's really hard to create something that feels original and authentic to yourself when you're getting inspired from other people. And that's really always what I wanted to do. I think, especially with my YouTube, that's like a little bit longer form content. That was always my favorite way to make videos and my favorite way to produce a creative work. But it was also the easiest for me to remain authentic, do something that was true to myself and something that I really believed in or found beauty in or wanted to put out there. But when I'm scrolling on TikTok and looking for ideas for TikToks or different concepts that other people are having success with, it really limits my ability to be creative, and I just don't feel that it's productive for me. So that's the first thing that I feel like has kind of been a hindrance on my ability to be creative lately, which unfortunately it did start as definitely an attempt to seek inspiration, but it backfired for sure. Another thing that I think is interesting that recently a friend and I were kind of chatting about is that there is a certain level of creative burnout when you live in New York City. And there's a few reasons for this. I think that the overstimulation of just going outside can be a lot, and you go outside and you experience 50 million different things, and that's just like on one block. Honestly, it is constantly erratic and constantly exciting, but I do think it can be overwhelming if you're not in the mindset for it. And personally, I've always loved that stimulation that New York gives you. I think that that aspect of New York is not what hinders my inspiration. I think the constant movement of the city and the productivity that you feel when you go outside, that is something that has always made me feel more inspired. However, because there are so many people and so many moving parts and so many creatives and so much content coming out of New York and so many different perspectives on what the city can provide in that creative aspect, it becomes very, very easy to compare whatever you're doing to everyone else out there. And this makes it really hard and honestly can be a little bit paralyzing when you're trying to come up with something that's unique and something that feels exciting to you. Because, for example, when I go out, if I really am up for it and want to put on what I perceive to be like a cool outfit, I might be really excited about it until I walk out the door and 15 minutes later I see a girl with a cooler outfit on. And I'm like, well, this outfit sucks. And I can't post this outfit or I can't do anything in this. That's like not true. Like I can do stuff in that outfit, but you know what I'm saying? Like, well, this is not exciting enough. This is not, I'm not coming up with the coolest thing. And I have never claimed to come up with the coolest thing ever. I never think I'm going to. There's always gonna be somebody cooler, more creative, more inspired, more unique, especially in New York. And it's always easy to say that, but then it's right in front of your face, and you're like, oh, well, this outfit sucks and it's fine. I'll spend the rest of my day in it, but I'm not gonna act like I just came up with something exciting because this chick is the coolest person I've ever seen, and like she can post about her outfit, but I definitely cannot. That's kind of what I feel like hinders me a little bit more, is just feeling like whatever I do is not going to be good enough, and whatever I create is not going to be exciting or not going to be new or not going to be better than what other people would want to watch or consume. So I do feel, unfortunately, that New York can really cause a level of burnout in that aspect of constantly seeing some of the most talented and insane people, honestly, that I'm sure at their own time have struggled with the feeling of not pushing themselves as far as they'd like or not feeling as creative as they need to be or want to be, but it doesn't necessarily translate in the 2-second interaction that you can have with somebody. So, if you listened to some of our last episodes, I think we talked about it in the last 2 episodes, but I'm leaving New York for the summer, which I keep saying for the summer, but it's kind of indefinitely. I have a half plan to come back in August, but we're gonna see where I am. I might like really want to stay at home and I might really want to come back. So whatever I'm feeling then is what I'm gonna do, which is kind of crazy for me to say because I always have everything planned out 6 months in advance. I used to have a 5-year plan, but I kind of had to get rid of that after some things went awry. So I'm definitely gonna be using that time this summer to just decompress, go back into my home state, and like, I mean, state physically and metaphorically, the state of being. But I think it'll be good for me to kind of have a reset and really take that step back to spend more time like inside my own brain, a little bit in a quieter, less noisy atmosphere and see what I can come up with. You know, it'll be exciting. And I do think I'm somebody who, maybe as much as I pretend like I don't, I love change. I love like moving. I love things changing on a day-to-day basis. Like obviously I wouldn't love like change if it was something negative, but like something exciting. I like seeing something new, dealing with a new project. I have always enjoyed that. It kind of feeds my ADHD. So I'm very excited for that this summer. But in the meantime, while I'm still here, I really want to get the most out of my last, I have like 2.5 weeks left, which is insane. I don't know how that's possible, but I am doing a few things to try to really get the most out of it and really step away from like the New York City content of it all and just focus on what I like and what I want to be doing for the last 3 weeks and recording it and taking photos where I see fit and encouraging myself to do those things and to be present in my way, in the way that I enjoy being present. Yeah, so I've been kind of trying to really limit my TikTok time this week since I've had this kind of realization, which since I quit my job, you can imagine it is up. The TikTok time is up because it's also been so rainy here. It's supposed to rain lightning. Okay, it's supposed to rain today, which is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So So that's really exciting and really good. And I'm really happy about that. And if you've been to New York City when it's raining, you know it sucks. Like it's not it's genuinely the worst. It's my least favorite city to ever have it rain. You don't have a car, you have to walk everywhere. The streets are disgusting. Your shoes get disgusting. It sucks. The subway's gross, the subway's flooded. It's not fun. And anything you want to do costs money. Unless you want to go on a walk in the rain, you have to pay if you leave your house. So I just end up like going to the gym the whole time because I'm like, what am I gonna do besides walk on the treadmill and look out the window at the rain? Anyways, sorry, quick rant. Sorry, had to get that out. So everyone knew how I felt. But yeah, so it's been raining in New York like so much. And that has also been a reason I'm like nothing else to do but scroll on my phone. I really don't feel inspired to record inside my apartment. It's too small. I'm like, if I'm recording something in New York City, it has to be outside so that it's actually in New York City. This stupid apartment could be anywhere. Those have all been kind of contributors to my lack of creative inspiration. However, I recently had my boyfriend come visit, and hanging out with him was honestly one of the best things that I could do for my creativity because we have a very, I feel like, goofy relationship, and we're both kind of always just trying to make each other laugh. And that was really good for me. And we just kind of recorded the whole thing. And a big part of us laughing too was always at his inability to record. So it just kind of made the whole thing a lot more fun. So I just posted that vlog today if you want to watch, which you should because it's very funny. But that was great for my inspiration. So I was never on my phone with him. I was hardly, I think I scrolled TikTok like a few times, maybe just when I was like posting, but I really was not on my phone and I was present in the world around me, trying to make sure he had fun, trying to do a lot of things. So that was very helpful in like making me excited about making content and just shifting my perspective to think in a more creative way. Since I've like had this realization that my creativity's been dying, I've really tried to limit my TikTok time and my Instagram time. Instagram, I just really only go on to look at my friends' posts, and if my friends haven't posted, I'm not interested. I'll tell you what has also been a hard thing for me is my brain no work lately. My attention span has been getting so low. And my ability to remember things for a long period of time is in the dumps. It's bad. So I've kind of been working on doing some more mental stimulation that's outside of my phone. So like crossword and reading and doing that type of thing that like stimulates my brain without scroll every 2 seconds. Something that takes a little bit longer really makes me think, trying to rewire my brain in that way. And then really just like getting outside by myself and not calling anybody because I'm the biggest caller and I love like if I'm on a walk for 3 seconds by myself, I'm bored. I'm bored. I'm bored, which was never the case. And I usually call somebody. Who? It's whoever picks up. I'll call every single person on my recently called list. And when they don't answer, it's over. Like, I'll start calling other people that I haven't talked to in forever. Then that's when that gets done. But speaking of, I need to respond to this text. So I've been trying not to call other people because I want to really have to like sit with my thoughts and use that time to just think. And it doesn't necessarily have to be about my next big creative project or my next new idea or with the intention of coming up with something creative, but it does have to be an opportunity for me to just sit alone with my thoughts and I'll probably come up with an idea because that's how my brain works and my brain moves 100 miles per minute. So if I'm not being stimulated by something, it's gonna stimulate itself. I do think one thing that I haven't really started doing, but I do know can kind of help initiate the creative mindset is just starting and it's going to be bad. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be the final product. It's not going to be what you want to put out there. But just starting and getting that muscle moving again and really focusing on quantity first and then let quality come later. I think that I've done this in the past where it's just been like, okay, I'm going to take a million videos, I'm going to take a million pictures, and some of them are going to be horrible and I'm never going to want to do anything with them. But also, half of them might be decent and I might be able to turn it into something that maybe I didn't think I was ever going to make. And from there, you kind of get that spark back. Once you start working that muscle again, it'll come back naturally. I don't know. This wasn't like with the intention of being, here's how to get out of creative burnout because I haven't. I'm still stuck in it, but I'm working on digging my way out of the trenches. More meant to be a conversation starter, and it's something that if you're a creative person, you're going to deal with at some point or another. And I really do think it's just about shifting gears and about finding a way to reset that works for you. And maybe even going back to what made you so inspired in your earlier life and what excited you then that could potentially incorporate it into your life that can excite you now, which is what I'm going to try to do. I also am excited to go home because all my like painting, craft, sewing, art supplies is there and I don't have space for it here, so I can't partake in those activities. And that's something I'm very excited to tackle when I go home because it's going to be a new project whenever I want it. I'm gonna definitely be trying to keep up with the podcast and coming up with some new ideas that we can incorporate it into it and coming up with some new ideas for my YouTube for the summer. So expect a lot, people. Thanks, guys, for listening to my solo episode, and hopefully Maria will be back next week. She comes home Saturday, so I'm posting this the day I made it. Like, I'm literally going to the gym and I'm gonna edit it on the treadmill. So you're welcome. You're welcome. That's really embarrassing. So you're welcome. All right, guys. Maria and I will see you next week and love you. Bye.